Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the seminar room at Texas Pinball Festival 2025. Thanks for being here. We have another great seminar for you this evening, how to run a pinball location. And we have 4 professionals here that all have some part in running and operating pinball in the wild. And just to get kind of a pulse from the crowd, like how many of y'all operate pinball machines? Nice. Cool. How many of y'all are looking to open an arcade or start operating pinball machines? Okay, cool. So little mixture of some. So we'll have some tips and tricks of like maybe how to jumpstart your collection into becoming a profit. Putting games on a location is a great way to save on storage space money and converts expense into revenue. So it's always great. So I'm going to take a seat and I'm going to introduce these guys here. And you can zoom into them. Yeah, look at that. PTZ beauty. All right, so I'll have each of you introduce yourself, but so from left to right, we have Matthew Talley with Lynn's Arcade. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in pinball currently.
My name's Matthew Talley. I opened up Lynn's Arcade with a buddy of mine 5 years ago, but we started a league about 10 years ago. We started out in league play, and that's how we kind of built up our community, and then we ended up taking the league to a public location and have been running that for about 5 years now. And currently I'm still owner-operator. I'm the lead tech at the arcade. Also do all the ordering, the scheduling, all that fun stuff. So like running that business on top of being the tech there. We also have 4 games on route at the moment, and we're looking to expand that out to another, 5 or so on top of that. So we'll get up to about 13 games on route on coin drop. Lynn's Arcade is a $20 free play arcade with 40 pins, with a mix of 20 classics. We like to go 20 classics, so anything solid state in EM, and then 20 moderns, which anything from a DMD up to an LCD display is how we run that. We're a heavy competition-based location, so we set up our games really difficult and really hard, but it's free play, so we can justify that, where if people come in and say it's really hard, it's like, well, just play it again, man. Like, just play away. So that's our MO. When I put the games out on route, though, we definitely just kind of take it back a notch and make it so it's more fun and people want to keep putting money in them. So fine balance, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. We should definitely touch on that fine balance here shortly. Next up, we have Brian Haskell from Kansas City, Missouri, out of Player One Amusements. Welcome.
Yeah, I work for Player One. We are Canada's #1 pinball distributor, but I work for our U.S. Route Operations Division, where we operate like FEC-type games. If you see games in a Regal or an AMC or a Cinemark movie theater, those are our games. So we operate pinball machines with other games. So that's what I'm excited to talk about.
Awesome. And then next up, Nick Schell with the Roanoke Pinball Museum.
Yes, Roanoke Pinball Museum in Roanoke, Virginia. So when I wear the T-shirt that says Roanoke Pinball Museum, usually people in Texas get kind of excited. And they're like, oh, Roanoke is a pinball museum. Like, no. It's a 16-hour drive to the east. But Roanoke is a small town, and, from Dallas originally. Been there about 7 years now. But the museum's been there for 10 years. We've got about 70 machines ranging from the early EMs all the way to the latest modern kind of games. It's a boutique experience. It's not a barcade. It's inside of a nonprofit building downtown, kind of an arts and cultural center. So it's more of a boutique kind of experience. We're in the process of expanding to about 100 machines, going to add a party room, and adding some more like businessy types of things. If it comes up, we can talk about it. But been there for 7 years, and it's going great.
Awesome. And then we have Phillip Forrester from the Phil's Pinball. Welcome.
Yeah, so I am Phil Jr. from the Phil's Pinball. Me and my dad got together, 7, 8 years ago, started working on pinball machines, and it organically grew into a business for us. We had a lot of friends that asked us, hey, can you work on our games? Can you put some of your games in our locations? And so we just organically started doing it. We have 5 locations that we have machines in. We have one that's a free play, pay at the door, $20 at the door. They have 25 pinball machines. They have 55 arcades. It is a barcade. We have another one that is Upstate Pinball and Arcade Museum, and it's more collector style. They have a lot of arcade machines, but then also have 15 pinball machines, and we keep 2 on rotation there to keep their lineup fresh. We also have a tap room in downtown Greenville, South Carolina, that keeps one of our machines there on free play for their patrons to come in while they're enjoying drinks. They get to play as well. Another free play place in Greenwood, South Carolina, that we have 4 of our machines to supplement what they're doing. A lot of our model stuff that we do is we come in and help these free play places have their lineup stay fresh, and so they rent or lease a machine from us, and usually that comes along with some sort of maintenance, and we help them out with the maintenance side of things as well. And they get to not have to buy the machines at a bigger cost, so they can supplement what their lineup already is. So we do a lot of supplementing of people's lineups, and that's our main business model. But then we also have a coin drop location as well. It's an ice hockey rink where they play college hockey games. They have an academy for kids from 3 to 18 years old. There's kids that live there and learn hockey. It's really big, but it's crazy that it's in Greenville, South Carolina, where it is. But they have a lot of Canadian players come down and train there and everything. So they're opening up a tap room, and they're wanting to have entertainment in that space. So we operate 7 pinball machines in there, and also alongside games like Buck Hunter and Golden Tee, Chex Hockey, all those things. And so we have those 5 locations we do. We also have a refurb shop where we refurb these games, and we refurb a lot of games for our friends that have free play arcades as well. And so there's ones, hour north of us. They will send us their machines when they're worn out, and we refurb them for them. And so we have a model where we're operating and repairing. And I have another business partner that's along with me and my dad, and also some other employees that go along with us to help supplement. But yeah, that's us.
Awesome. So one of the biggest questions that always comes from people when wanting to open an arcade is really, what format should I choose? So with y'all all up here, we have a wide range of free play locations, museums, which I imagine are nonprofit route, to bigger operations like Player One, where you guys are handling huge regions and supporting those communities, to, coin drop and swipe cards. Like, what would y'all's advice be to how do we choose which one we should do for our community? And then also, why did y'all make the choices to do what you did? If you could speak on that.
You don't mind, I'll go first. What we offer is great for somebody starting up where you don't need any capital, because we do revenue share. So you give us a spot in the back of your arcade, back of your pizza restaurant, for example, or movie theater. We've got bowling alleys, and then we bring in the games, and then we split the revenue with you guys. And what we love is we also do sales. So there was a bowling alley that we were in for 3 years, and after 3 years, they got to the point where they're ready to buy their own games from us and operate their own games. So then they get all the profits. So they could get that foot in the door of having that FEC type arcade, and they had a ticket counter and all that. They manned the ticket counter, and we provided the games. And then, like I said, later on, you can buy your own games, or, honestly, if anybody wants to buy games to start with, we of course sell the games right up front. And with this, we focus on like the FEC style, where you have the games that give you the tickets, and we usually have the tickets on the cards. The claw machines, the games that have merchandise in them where you can like earn and win an iPad or something. And the pinball is like supplementary to that. And in a lot of these FEC type environments, sometimes people will get a few pinball machines, and after a few months, they'll get a little disappointed. And I always say, don't worry if your pinball machine isn't getting your ROI in a year. Because what the pinball machine is doing is at a bowling alley, I see it all the time where the kid will run in, the parents will come to get their kid. The kid says, hey, let's play, come on, buy a card. And the parents are like, nah, we're just here to bowl, we're not playing. And then they see the pinball machine. And they're like, okay, they buy a $100 card, they play the pinball machine 2-3 times with their kids playing the cranes and playing the skee ball. So the pinball machine's not making as much money as the kid who's just swiping over and over again on that crane machine. But what that pinball's doing is it's getting you that sale for that $100 card, for example. So it's not gonna be the biggest earner when you've got claw machines and games that give out tickets and stuff like that. But it's not what piece that you were gonna buy to get the ROI on that. It's the piece you're gonna buy to get people to come in to let their kids play while they get to play the pinball. I mean, and as a parent myself, I didn't want to go to the Chuck E. Cheese my kids want to go to that didn't have a pinball machine. We'd go to the one that was half an hour away that did have a pinball machine. So personally, I also obviously agree with that. So.
Well, I got to follow up on that. I forgot to mention that I also operate 7 pinball machines in 2 different breweries that are in Roanoke as a side gig. I'm also working on a pinball B&B. That's a separate business altogether. But I actually, because they're breweries are really, if you're looking to get your feet wet and you have a machine or two, or maybe you want to get started with it, breweries are really the ideal first place to reach out to because they have a lot of space, and unlike a bar, they're further away. Bars are a middleman and they get the dense crowd, and it's hard to have floor space for a pinball machine at a bar necessarily. But breweries are a little further out, they have a lot more space, and their problem is they need something to draw people out beyond the bars and make it worth it to visit breweries. And so they usually have space to burn. They need something cool. We need space to put the thing and a way to make money. So of the 2 breweries that I have games in, there's no profit sharing at all. I just said, I'll just provide your guests with a nice clean machine. I'll keep it running. I'll maintain it, keep it clean and everything. And you just give me a place to plug it in, good to go. So breweries have been really good. I know it's not always that way. Sometimes you have to have some sort of a profit split, but that I would suggest would be probably the first. Evaluate where you live and look at if there's any pinball machines in any breweries and kind of just eyeball it and see maybe if some would fit. Maybe just talk to the owner and kind of see if they'd be open to the idea. Because I think America, if there's a pinball machine in every brewery, it kind of becomes a standard like, hey, where's your pinball machines? We all have them in Roanoke now. Because we've got, I got other friends who are doing this as well. So that's probably my recommendation to if you're going to operate. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll follow up with that as well. Our 4 that we have out there right now are in breweries as well. And it's the same idea. There's no profit sharing there because it's like we provide you something to have something for some people to do while they're at your brewery having another beer and then getting getting some food and then hanging out. It gives them something to do, and then we keep it clean and maintained, and it is a good way to kind of get your feet wet.
I don't really have anything. All of our locations usually reach out to us and stuff, and so they dictate the way it went, like whether it was pay at the door or coin drop and stuff. And so for us, we didn't really have to ever make those decisions. It was already made for us, and we just came in and supplemented what they were already doing and stuff. So, but I will say from the standpoint of choosing, it really depends on what you're going after. Are you going after, you want new people to play? What's around? Is there a place where people can do? There are a lot of people that don't want to come in and get beat up on a game for 30 seconds and then put another dollar in. So that's where a free play model does help in some aspects, but there are some areas where that doesn't work as well. I mean, it is very much where you have to kind of go get the pulse of the clientele that are going into these places. Is it something where they just need something to do and want to put a few bucks in? Or is it something where they're coming and they want an experience and be able to experience a whole arcade and things like that? So it really is where you kind of have to go in and scout it out and say, what's the pulse of this area? what's the pulse of it, what is everybody else already doing, and where do we fit in that scenario?
Yeah, we started out just doing the free play model, and then now we've grown it up into having a monthly membership. So we have a monthly membership, a daily price, an hourly price, and then now we've just added 2 more games at the front door that are just coin drops. So if you come into the Lynn's Arcade and you don't have half hour, an hour, you have 10 minutes, you can play the couple games at the front door for 50 cents or $1 a play. If you have an hour, it's $10. You go play for an hour, $10, like go for it. If you have all day, you pay $20, you can leave and come back. And if you're there all the time, you pay $100 and you're in for the whole month. You can play as much as you want for the whole month. So we have all these levels that we've created. But we, like Phil was saying, like we got the pulse from League. Like we based our business model on, we have 40 to 50 people that show up every single Monday for League night. And then we have 20 ladies that show up every Wednesday for Ladies League. And then we do a Thursday night strike. So we're like providing these tournament settings for people to like come and hang out and have a good time and enjoy. Plus on the flip side of that, we have, 120 beers that we have in cans to provide. And it's a bring your own food type place. So we don't have to worry about a kitchen and all that. So we kind of really did like a streamlined version of a barcade kind of idea. So that, I can have one person working and they just turn around, grab a beer, hand it to you. There you go. You're good to go. So they're not pouring beers on tap. They're not buffing glassware. They're not having to do dishes or anything like that. It's just a very simple, here's your beer. There you go. We source beer from all over the United States. That's like super craft and really fun and cool. And so we push that a lot. And then the pinball, like, kind of speaks for itself, where it's like, yeah, we like really rare, cool stuff, and we don't want to have to worry about coin mechs and counting coins in every single one of them. We want people to play them and enjoy them and then learn them. So that's kind of like what we went with that format. I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer of do you do coin drop or you do free play. Both are, I enjoy both of them. Anytime I go to an arcade, it doesn't matter what you have. You have a swipe card, sure. I just want to play games. So it's like, it all depends on what, like Phil was saying, feel out your area and see what's going to make you profitable in whatever way you can.
There are some areas that, like in Kansas City, Missouri, where if you have the coin drop, you've got to pay for license. And I think it's different licensing if they have alcohol versus not. But if you do the free play and just pay to get in, then you don't have to do the licensing.
Right.
So that is also a factor to decide in there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say a quick and dirty rule. This does not apply universally because, as Phil, everybody was saying, location, like with any business, is going to determine what kind of business that you have. So that's going to be critical. But whether you go free play or coin drop, I have noticed that in a lot of the businesses we run, if you sell alcohol, you're probably going to lean more towards coin drop. And if you don't have an alcohol license or you don't want to get into that, you're probably going to lean towards free play. This is not a hard and fast rule, but in general, that's probably going to be the way you go. So that's just another thing to take into consideration.
Yeah.
What about the pros of going like the nonprofit route and calling it a museum and doing the kind of things that people would expect in a museum setting? Like, does that feel like it is just as successful as like the popular bar arcade format?
It's a little bit of a different business with us because this is a nonprofit arts and cultural center downtown, so it really is more of like a boutique museum. It's really right now, and for the past 7 years, embarrassingly, kind of a museum only in name. I mean, we have classic machines over the decades, but I really want to have exhibits that show how these things work, and I want interactive signs on top that explains the history to truly make it a museum, kind of like the Pacific Pinball Museum and so forth. So we're actually doing that this year. We're expanding to 100 machines and all that. But the decision to be a nonprofit is because we are an umbrella arm of the Center in the Square, which is the Arts and Cultural Foundation. So that kind of precludes us from being like a barcade, so to speak. So that's kind of baked in with us. I guess we're a little bit different. But I have heard of some businesses that when they wanted to start an arcade and they were planning on getting a liquor license and couldn't get it, they switched to a nonprofit to kind of save their business model for working. So that's kind of an option to do it that way as well. So.
Can I add something? You're talking about the two models of a free-to-play where you pay for your time or coin drop. So we have locations that are on coin drop where it's literally quarters. And if you have an environment where you're going to do quarters, you then have to decide, well, you don't have to, but you should decide if you want to do a bill changer or if you want to have bill acceptors, we call DBAs, in your games. On the modern Stearns, it's really easy to slap on a DBA. Some of the older games, it's hard. There's a way to even get DBAs running on old EMs, but it's not easy. So, but if you're going to have some older games where throwing DBAs on is not easy, then sometimes having a bill changer is your option, where then they can put their dollar bills in there. But if you have only quarters accepted on your machine and no way for somebody to take their dollars into quarters, you're going to lose business. And on top of that, as we all know, nowadays everything's credit cards. So if you go with a bill changer route, what we do in some locations, we do tokens. And then we have a credit card reader attached to our bill changer. So then they can just tap their card and get $10 worth of tokens. Some pinball enthusiasts really don't like that model. They just want to pay for the game. You know, you mentioned that for people who aren't the best pinball players, their best bang for the buck is your environment where you pay $10 for an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
But I know some people who refuse to go to a free play timed type environment because they feel like, well, I'm so good on, $10, I could be all day. Or, I know some players in Kansas City where, $1 and they'll be at a machine for an hour. And so that's also a thing to decide is about your clientele. If you end up doing enough machines, then there's the option of the card-based system. And that has its pros and cons too. Again, a lot of high-level players, they hate having their money tied up in a card, but there's a lot of advantages. So what I like the best about a card system is, for those of us who operate coin stuff, once you go above $1 on a pinball machine, then that's where the players just will revolt. Even if you take off the option for $2 get you 3 credits, they'll even, some of our hardcore players, they'll revolt against that. But when you have a card system, it is a lot easier to be able to charge more than the $1. And I'm not saying that we need to be, ripping off our customers charging $5 for a game. But the reality is, what was about 10 years ago where games you could get a pro for $4,500, and now a pro is $7,000. But we were taking $1 for a play back then, and we're still taking $1 a play now. So we're not getting more money in, even though we're paying what feels like twice as much for the new games. So there's just something about that card system that it's a lot easier to just, one tap is one tap, and that tap may be $1.50 now. And it's not that big of a deal. Now I got a buddy here, Ryan Bell, where he runs an arcade where he uses Amusement Connect. We run embed and intercard at a lot of locations. So there's a lot of options too where you can shop around. But you don't want to do a card system if you got a location with only 4 games. That's where you'll do DBAs. If you got 6 to 8, then that's probably about time for a changer. You get more to a dozen, then you can start looking into something like Amusement Connect. But again, as we talked about, it all depends on how many pieces and what your environment is.
It is definitely difficult with some of these players that are that good, that are they kind of fight you on the $10 thing or the $20 all day thing. Because yes, they can go and play one game on $1 for 5-6 hours, but you can play 40 in here for $20. It's like, if you screw up on that one game that you're playing, you can just move to the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So it's getting that value into people's minds where it's it's only $20, and it's 40 super cool games that you can go play. So if you play 50 cents a game, you play all the games, you've basically paid it off. So you get at least the variety on that. Yeah, I can go into a spot and replay a game multiple times over and over, but I'm just playing Jaws. I'm like, well, I want to play other things, so it's going to take more money to play the other things as well. So if it's $1 a game, and they have 40 games, I'm going to try to play all of them. It's going to be $40, you know. So it's kind of like, again, it's a lot of conversation about what way to do it. So it's tough to say, you know. Can't really say.
And those players that are like state level players that are really good, that can play for hours on $1 where they keep earning free plays. Those players are important. You know, the pinball community is very important, but if you cater to those players who you make $1 or $2 off of an hour,
right,
you're really losing out on the majority of your players are going to be average players. And in our FEC environments, a lot of the players are just people who, like, I remember playing pinball when I was a kid, and they're there with their kids now, and again, their kids are playing skee ball and the crane machines. So they're going to be at that pinball machine for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
When you're operating pinball machines, the modern pinball machines have an option that is the, what do they call it, where it's timed? Like,
minimum ball or minimum game time.
yeah, and that'll actually, it's a great option for when us in FEC environments where you can set that to like 3 minutes, and the game will extend ball saves and stuff like that to help that game last at least 3 minutes. So for that parent who's not a pinball enthusiast, they'll really feel like they got their money's worth, and they might be more willing to go ahead and give it another swipe or drop 4 more quarters, as opposed to if it's set at tournament level play with, you know, a 2-second ball save, or like an Addams Family where there's no ball save, then they're going to put their dollar in or put their swipe in, and their game's going to be over in 20, 30 seconds. And they're just not going to have fun. But in an environment like you talked about, where you've got multiple leagues each week and a lot of tournaments, that environment, you of course don't want to use that feature because it's the opposite. You'll have people stuck on your game for hours.
For hours.
So it depends on
what you're
going to.
Yeah.
So
We definitely cater more towards the tournament style play. So we can make our games really, really tough. We can turn ball saves off. We can make the slingshots really tight and really lively. We can do rubber schemes on it that mess with you. And again, it makes it, to us, it's fun. You know, like we look at it and we're like, we have a great time when the game just kicks the bejesus out of us. We're like, sweet, that was awesome. I got to play this thing again and battle it some more. Some people do complain, being like, yeah, could you please turn ball save back on this game? It's like, well, no, not really. But I've been loosening up a little bit and like adding extra balls back in and like adding ball saves on certain games, and I just have to remember to turn them off during bigger tournament stuff. But yeah, you're dancing a fine little line when you're doing this.
So just real quick, a game of Matahari in 1977 was 25 cents. You got 3 balls. How much do you think a quarter is worth in 2025, inflation adjusted? No, not $2.50. That'd be crazy. No, but it's about $1.40, and we're charging $1. Back then, you didn't get a DMD, no wizard mode, no nothing like that. So the technology has improved. You get a lot more, but $1 a game is kind of like getting a 15-cent game, you know, back then. So it's a pretty good deal. And as far as expert players, yes, they're important, but they cause the most wear and tear. They're the most demanding. They don't want to pay anything, and they're pretty picky about stuff. Definitely take care of them, but do not base your business around them because they kind of scare people away when they play. They're shaking the game and stuff, and the families are like, okay, we're gonna, I don't know what's going on over here. So just it's like if they grumble a little bit about paying a full price to come in, sorry, dude, you're gonna get your money's worth. I know you'll get your money's worth. So anyway.
There's also 2 games at the door at 50 cents, so go for it. You don't want to pay $20, then don't, you know? Like,
yeah, we face that a lot. Okay, so we have a bunch of games. We got a location. Is that it? Can I just open doors and then all of a sudden it's gonna filled with people? One of the big tropes that I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but it is something that we did at Captain Crazy's too, but everyone's always like, you're not gonna be successful unless you have a bar and you're serving alcohol, you know, with just pinball. Like, what are y'all's thought processes on that? And like, what are things that we can do when we do open up a location to get people into the doors and keep that healthy?
I'm going to say this. It is about the atmosphere that you create and the business and whatever their atmosphere that they create. That's going to make or break your model right away. If you don't have a good atmosphere where people want to come and hang out and want to spend time there, I don't care if they're spending money or not, they're going to spend money if they spend time there. It's going to happen. They're going to have to buy a drink. They're going to have to buy food. They're going to have to do something if they're coming in there. And so if your atmosphere stinks, then it's not going to happen. So getting the right people and selling that to the owners, selling that to whoever works there, we need a place where people are going to want to hang out and be here more than, once a month. And so that atmosphere that you create, whether it's family friendly, whether it's chill vibe at a bar, whether it's whatever it is, a fun atmosphere and everybody's having a good time and it's a party every time somebody walks in, that's what people are looking for. They're looking for an experience, and the pinball and everything else is the supplement to that, in my opinion.
So as representing locations that pinball is not the main focus, use something like Pinball Map. If you put pinball at a place that's not a pinball place,
Yeah.
and the community doesn't know that you got pinball there, then no one's going to come. And Pinball Map is the basic start. And if for those of you that don't know what Pinball Map is, it's what the name is.
Download it right now.
Yeah, everyone needs Pinball Map. It's free.
Download it right now. Yeah.
Like when I travel for work, I work a route where I travel all over the Midwest to fix games. And I personally will check Pinball Map when I'm at Sioux Falls, for example, and see I found a great arcade there just by checking Pinball Map. And anyone can go into Pinball Map and update it. So if you're in an arcade and it says it's got, I don't know, Mustang, and that's not there anymore, but there's an Iron Maiden, you can actually go in and delete the Mustang and add the Iron Maiden. But as operators, don't rely on your community to do that. When you've got a game in there, go on Pinball Map and add your game. But what I've also learned is Pinball Map's the default. But I've then found that some people are like, well, I didn't see that you had pinball machines on Pinside. Pinside has its own map. And then Scorebit is another system that people look at to find. And then just on top of that, Stern Insider Connected has their own map. So I definitely want to talk about Insider Connect. I'm a huge fan of that, but I don't know if you want to wait till later to bring that up.
Yeah, no, I think that's part of the conversation of bringing people into the doors, what Stern's doing with Insider Connected and the badge collections, and people get really hooked on that. And then now with Dungeons and Dragons really launching that Save Your Progress, they've done it in previous games. I see constantly people just coming in to level up their character, and now you can collect the glass sword of unmaking and all the John Wick contracts and stuff. So yeah, please talk about how having something like Insider Connected or even other leaderboards, Scorebit leaderboards perhaps, help keep people coming to your locations.
So on Insider Connected, for those that don't know, the leaderboard option for an operator is free. A lot of people say, I don't want to pay for that. Like, it's absolutely free. And talk about it, I've got a buddy, Ryan, here. I helped him with his leaderboard. You are given a URL that you can put on any smart TV, but if you get Walmart sells a $20 Google TV device, and you can get a free app called AbleSign, and that'll let you put a playlist in. So a buddy of mine's got some games in a bar, and they didn't want to let him put up a leaderboard, but when he told him that he could have when I talk about playlist, we'll show the leaderboard for like 60 seconds, and then this brewery has every month or every week they've got a special brew, and they would post a video on Facebook, so he would just download that video and add it to his playlist. So then it was advertising that special brew to the people playing pinball on that screen. So all of a sudden, we were giving them free digital signage. So it went from a burden of like, I don't want you hanging TVs, you let me put your pinball machines in, and now you want to hang TVs on my wall, to now you're telling them, hey, you want some free digital signage? And also, can we have our scores on there? So I can also tell you firsthand, I have seen where people say, well, is it really going to help us with getting money? Well, we talk about the competitive players. And I have seen where a player was put about $10 into a game that I swear, he's told me he didn't like the game. And it was Foo Fighters, and who doesn't like Foo Fighters? I love Foo Fighters, but it wasn't his game, but he's just putting more and more quarters in this. I'm like, so you like Foo Fighters now? He's like, no, I hate it. And he's like frustrated. I'm like, well, why do you keep putting more money in? It's like, I got to take Logan off the leaderboard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we'll do it. Take Logan off that leaderboard. Keep dropping those quarters in. So it really does get more money in your cash box. And of course, it puts you, that's how you get on Stern Insider Connected map, is if you're a verified location. So you've got to have your games online. If you got your games online, any old TV, now you can go to a thrift store and buy a 32-inch TV for like $10. It's not a smart TV, but again, you get that $20 device from Walmart and you throw on the leaderboard on there, and you can do a portrait. And portrait just, for some reason, that just makes it look cool and special, where it's not a TV anymore, it's digital signage. But then there's the problem with the portrait is when we do tournaments, on the side, I run like 4 monthly tournaments in Kansas City. You can put match play on there, so your players can just look at the screen and see what their game is and what order they are. That doesn't look so good right now in portrait. So, my buddy at that bar, they've got one portrait and one landscape screen. Yeah. So, the options are really limitless, and nowadays it's just so cheap and easy to throw it up. If you've got Insider Connected Games, just do it. If you don't have Insider Connected Games, Scorebit will let you print off a QR code that you can put on the apron or on the back glass of any of your games, and then you can have a Scorebit leaderboard. And it's a little bit more complicated because they have to scan in that QR code, and then they take a picture of their score and upload that. So they can fudge that. But most people who want to get on the leaderboard, they don't want to just cheat and put a fake number on. They want to earn it. But yeah, there's one bar near our house where they wanted only Insider Connected Games because it had to be on the leaderboard. And so they didn't want the Medieval Madness and the Mars Attacks. And those games make great money on location still to this day. So we'll do Scorebit then. So then you can still have your leaderboard. It's the phrase, have your cake and eat it too, where you can have those old classics that still make money and have a modern leaderboard. And if you don't want to trust them with that, Scorebit sells a Scorebitron, which is a device you hook up to it, and it actually fits between the MPU and your display. So you can even have achievements and stuff. So that's really deep in the weeds, but just trying to say there's lots of options.
Yeah, as far as just saying opening the doors and going, we built the community before we actually opened the business. So we had a bunch of collectors that brought games to a specific location. We called it the office back in the day, and it was just a warehouse in Salinas. And we filled that thing with 25, 30 games and were holding league every Monday. And then we were just slowly building that pinball community, and people found us and grew it that way organically. Then we realized, okay, if we actually add something else in, if we were beer connoisseurs and we love craft beer, if we add that in with that pinball, we can actually have a business that can sustain itself and actually pay a few employees and grow and continue to grow. So really, it's for me, it's the community is what it's all about. And our league community and the tournament community that we have built up is, slightly different than a super highly competitive version of a league. We're very much, we all show up to hang out and have a beer with our friends and play pinball together. So it's getting that is what's going to make if you're going to open a brick and mortar with just pinball in it, you definitely need to have that backing of a lot of people wanting to do that with you, to support you.
And again, on the flip side of the fact that we, do a couple pinball machines at a bigger arcade, don't be afraid to do a leaderboard or a tournament. There are tournament formats you can do with just 2 machines. And if you've got even just 4 machines, then you can do the simple match play. Advertise your tournaments. If you have a tournament and you don't put it up on a leaderboard or put it up on Facebook and stuff, then they won't come, Yeah. But if they know there's a tournament, you'd be surprised. Just simple people, simple pinball players are intrigued by the idea of playing in a tournament and learning from higher level players. So you talk about doing tournaments on your big arcades. We talk about arcades where we just got a handful of pinball machines.
Right.
There is a tournament for whatever size you've got.
And just to add to that, there's so many facets of community building as well, too. Lynn's Arcade, for example, you guys have that full week schedule where Monday is league, Tuesday is tutorial Tuesday, so we're gonna have a coach there for a certain amount of hours to come teach you the rules specifically on how to play a game. Wednesday is ladies' night, so there's bells and chimes leagues that you can also definitely recommend pushing at your locations because it brings in a different crowd. You know, they may participate in everything, but it gives everyone their own space. And then you guys do your Thursday night strikes and blah, 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 blah. It just goes on every day.
Yeah,
So having that full pack schedule is huge, which also means you need staff and passionate staff to support it. So that's something to think about too. But then a new thing that we're starting to grow even more, I think we have 13 chapters, is the Little Flippers program, where it's incentivizing to have kids come out to the arcade and learn how to play pinball and compete with each other, ages 4 through 12. And we have Little Flippers in Columbia, where Marco's based out of. Kim right here, Kim, you're on the screen. Look. She's one of the coaches that helps teach the kids like flipper skills and everything like that too. And what I've seen, like when we bring that to like our bar arcade or whatever, it brings the parents in, they sit there, they have their drinks or their food, their kids are entertained and they're relaxed, and that just brings in a whole new crowd too that you may not get from your hardcore like league or tournament IFPA players. So there's so much you can do in growing that. Now we're to the part with, I am thinking of my next question, I'm looking at a row of like all master technicians. You know, you guys are all really, really good pinball technicians. Yeah, they're all shaking their heads because they're amazing people and humble too. But what advice do you have if I'm coming into this journey and I don't have any tech experience? I have a lot of games, but I don't know how to really work on games. And now that they're getting played thousands of times a day versus 20, like what type of advice do y'all have to navigate through that realm? Where can we go to seek help?
You ever been to a restaurant where the food isn't any good? Don't go back, do you? It's the same thing with arcades. They live and die by the quality of their machines. So, if you are thinking of opening a business and you are not a professional tech, or you don't know how to repair stuff, or you don't have a very, very close relationship with somebody who's going to be part of your business who is, don't do it. You cannot hire external people to maintain your highly, a million moving parts business for you. You got to be neck deep in the woods on this. So if you don't have the skills, be very, very close with. It's like having a bar and you're letting somebody else be your bartender, handle all the cash, do all that stuff. Well, you kind of want to have control over that. So I'd say it's extremely important.
What I'll add to that, though, is don't be afraid to work on a machine. So for P1AG, one of the things we do is with our route operations is not only do you get, in essence, free games and then you get the revenue split, but you also get me. You get the tech if you take that route. Now, if you don't take that route, of course, I recommend if you're wanting to buy games and what games should I buy, if you're not a master tech, I will say the modern Sterns are the easiest games now to maintain. So seriously, if you're worried about that at all, yes, modern Sterns are going to cost more than getting a used, Medieval Madness or Mars Attacks, but it is going to last you a lot longer. And those are great games to start learning. Those are what I first learned how, is again, being a tech that's there to fix a claw machine and, oh, hey, we got a pinball machine. So when a flipper stopped working, here I am pulling the glass off for the first time, lifting the game up, and I've got somebody walking in and how'd you learn how to do this? I'm learning right now. Don't be afraid to learn right now. Pinball machine repair can seem very daunting, especially if you're doing an older one. I will say if you don't know anything about repairs, don't get an EM. But even though the 80 and 90s machines, they aren't that daunting once you really get in it. You see all those wires and you think it's crazy. But there are aftermarket boards that are fairly affordable now. So if you have board problems and you don't want to do board level repairs, that's not the end of the world. And if you get in too deep, Marco's website, you can look up techs. So you go to the website and click on Find a Tech, and I guarantee you're going to find a tech in your area. Now, as he said, don't operate pinball machines and expect to rely on that, though, because you're going to lose money. Pinball machines can cost a lot of money, especially if you just buy a new board every time you have a problem. And as you talked about it in your seminar on repairs, you buy a board every time you have a problem. The board may not be your problem, or it may not be your first problem. If your board is your problem, but you've got a coil that's fused or a diode that's shorted, you're just going to blow that new board too. There's lots of resources online, though.
Yeah, I would, if you got 20 games and you want to open a spot and put all your 20 games in there, you better learn how to work on them real quick, because pinball breaks every day. There's something at the arcade every day, something's going to snap off, something's going to break, and it's a constant maintenance cycle when it comes to maintaining pinball machines. And you better love it. If you don't love it, don't do it, man. Because it's your life. That's what it is day in, day out, you're going to be doing it. So if you love doing it, then, gung-ho, I'm full force, support, do it. But if you don't, if you're not fully in love with this passion, that is pinball, then I would recommend finding something else to do.
And clean and wax.
Yes.
Nothing will turn off a pinball fan more, where they look up your game on Pinball Map, and they show up to play your game, and the center of that playfield is just dark.
Black, yeah.
They're not going to play. If they see that you're not cleaning their game, they're going to assume you're not fixing it either. So clean your game. And I'll tell you, as a route tech, it is pretty easy to show up to a location and, the game's working. I got to get to my next location, and you'll hop and forget to clean. That will just destroy any of your business if your machine doesn't look clean. People aren't going to know that you've got it working if it's too dirty for them to want to put their money in the first place. So it sounds crazy, but in my opinion, lights and cleanliness you do first. And then you fix that switch that's not working, because no one's going to know that switch not working if the lights aren't working or it's dirty.
We have about 15 minutes left, maybe a little bit less. I invite anyone to come up to the microphone to ask questions. And while people are thinking of what questions they want to ask you, I wanted to ask each of you if someone could have gave you one piece of advice before you started on your journey in operating pinball, what would you have wanted that to be?
Mine's going to be a unique answer. I wish I'd played more pinball. I started as a tech and then became a pinball enthusiast fan. I started as a tech at Chuck E. Cheese in '99, and we had pinball machines starting in 2002. Like I said, just took the glass off and figured out how to fix them. But until I played the pinball machines myself and became a true fan and an enthusiast, I didn't understand when people would complain I can't do this or this multi-ball. And I'm like, when I did my coin drop this morning, the game played fine, because all I'm doing is putting the coin in, hitting start, plunging, and hitting the flippers. I think it's great. I wish I had really got into pinball long ago.
I wish I would have. The people I know now, the support system I know now, compared to what it was when we first started, it was just Carrie and I trying to figure this stuff out on our own, and using Google and using Pinside and all that. So now I have a Rolodex in my phone of guys that I can call and ladies that I can call that know more about pinball repair than I do. And having that support system, would have been great right when we started the business. It would give me more confidence in working on games and taking on jobs at other, at customers' houses. So, now I can actually go to a customer's house and be fairly confident I can get their game working. But in the beginning, I was terrified to go into somebody else's house to work on their games. I was terrified to even touch my own stuff. So having that knowledge, or at least that support base earlier, would have been really cool. That's kind of what I wish I would have had. But it's good now. I got a ton of people that I can call. It's great. It's a tough one.
I mean, I'd say just don't overdo it. There's so much to learn. There's so many things. I don't ask for help. We have some volunteers that come into the Roanoke Pinball Museum, and I give them lunch after we work. Probably one day a month we'll get together. We'll my deeper dive problems. I'll why don't you take this home and work on it, and I'll, and just don't be afraid to reach out for help, because it gets overwhelming really quickly if you try to just do it all. So, I would say that tap into your community and just kind of see if people want to participate, get them involved.
Yeah, I would go with that. I mean, the biggest thing that I didn't realize getting into it is how much work it actually was. I enjoyed pinball and I enjoyed fixing machines and stuff, and so that was the easy part. But managing, helping grow the community, helping, the amount of time it takes that you're investing in that. You're investing in your own business and in your own self when you do those things, but it is a lot of time. So having a support system of people that early on try to identify some people that can help you, that are interested in it, that are passionate. I wish I had my eyes open a little bit more at the beginning of saying, oh man, I really see that they really enjoy pinball and stuff. Maybe they'll want to help run a tournament. Maybe they'll want to help this. Maybe they'll want to help that. And so kind of keeping my eyes open for the people that will help you along that journey.
All right, go ahead.
Question I have is around the financial metrics. So from a business perspective, if you buy a $7,000 pinball machine, right, how long does that take you to get the return back in a coin-operated environment? What should you expect? Is it $200 a month and then ramps to $300? How do you just deal with to ensure that from a profitability perspective and running the business so that you can make money at it? I'd like to get a little insight into that. I mean, if you have any thoughts
We'll
around
probably all have different answers because we're all in different locations.
Right.
Real quick, I'll just say, Route 4, get one free. So it's 25% return on my average location.
Yeah, it all depends on location. I know the guys at Freegal Watch, in San Francisco, they got an 80-person league, and electric bat, they'll put a brand new game in there and they'll pay it off in 2 months. So it all depends on the volume of people that you have going into your business. So it really, but what Nick says, that makes sense. If you route 4, you'll buy one. That makes sense.
I get really analytical with a lot of the things, and so in South Carolina we have tax tags. We had to pay $250 per machine every 2 years, so it works out to $125 per machine every single year. We have an operator's license that we have to have on top of that, and so I add all that kind of stuff up and put it into. I know every single machine is just under $11 that it has to make just to break even on those tax tags. And so, there's a metric there for us in going, hey, I really need to have these games earn this amount if it's a coin drop, or I really need to have this kind of money for a rental on it to make it work and make sense for us. So we approach it very analytical of hey, how much does it cost us to do, but then the maintenance side of things and how much it costs monthly is really going to depend on your clientele. Because during the summers in our free play environments, when we have a lot of kids come in, we go in once a week, clean the machines, do all the fixes on our locations. But during the summer, there's an uptick in stuff. We're not there every day. We're not seeing the kids beat on the machines and everything else. So our maintenance goes up in the summer when we have more kids in there playing on the machines and doing the whole double flip thing. And we go through a lot more flipper rebuild kits. And so we do trial periods with our locations as well, where we say, hey, we're going to come in, let us do a trial period. We'll work out splits and stuff after that, and let us figure out what your clientele is doing, how much maintenance is involved in here, and then we put it into an analytics of saying, hey, we need to get X amount per machine. That allows us to give you so much per split, and we work on those numbers.
I want to add that, when people talk about ROI on a game, you don't need a $7,000 game to earn $7,000. If you buy a game from Player One Amusement Group, for example, we will buy that game back from you 2 years later. Now, of course, we're not going to be buying it back for $7,000, But for whatever the game makes, then you have a machine that has value that you can then resell. So if you've got a game that you buy for $7,000 and in a year it makes you $2,000, but then you're able to sell it for $6,000 to get another new game, you've earned $1,000 off of that machine. And a lot of people forget about that when they looking at their earnings, they're looking at their ledgers on their reports and stuff, and they're like, oh, well, this machine in this year only made us, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000. Again, you've got a machine that's got value. And I think other distributors do the same, but I'm right, we still buy back games, right? I'm asking my boss. We still buy back games, right? Yeah, and a lot of vendors will also do that, so. Sorry, put my boss on the spot.
Hello.
Hi.
So I've operated a location, Coin Drop, for about 2 years. But my question is, a few years ago, there was at a brewery, these weren't my machines, they were someone else's. Someone did put like a rush game at like 125 per play. Would that be too much today? Because he did that probably when like COVID started, 2020 to 2022.
I think we should be charging $150 personally, but on a quarter drop or dollar bill, the earnings, in my experience, just drop down. You know, like I said, my company, we operate a lot more in pinball. We even take a crane machine up to $150 because we're going to put, Pokemon plush in there. And there's just something about $1 when you're dropping money that you just can't get past that. And that's why I love the card swipe systems. And again, you've got that investment to buy the system in the beginning, but then you can price it however you want. Now, like Dave and Buster's, they have the point value be something so crazy you cannot do the math and you don't realize you're spending $5 on one game. We usually do like 1 point for a quarter, so a game will be like 6 points to play. But that seems to be, with my experience, I don't know if anybody else got any other experiences, but that seems to be the only way we've been able to charge more than $1 without having the amount of plays really drop.
I just go $1 a game flat out, and then 5% match. I'm real stingy on the free play match, and it's just the easiest. It's what people want to do.
It's better to drop that free credit, that $2 for 3 credits. It's easier to drop that off than it is to increase your value for more than $1 on a quarter drop. Yeah, what he was saying is to rotate the machines out. That's another way to keep the value to your customer. If 2 years down it's the exact same games, your revenue is going to drop. And that's what's great about what we do with the revenue share is we will freshen up your game, or we'll rotate out some of the games. So.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Hello, my name's Neil, and I run a pinball location. The biggest complaint we get, smelly players. Any advice? Because it's constantly on the number one list. So we survey our members and our guests. What can we improve? Top of the list every single time, smelly pinball players.
So
Smelly pinball.
I mean, when we set up our club, the one thing I was expecting many challenges. That was not one of them.
Where's your location?
It's Pinball Republic in London, Europe's biggest pinball location.
Okay.
And that is a genuine issue. So
Any idea? I mean, we got deodorant in our vending machine.
Oh, you just get the little travel ones and hand them out to everybody that comes
We've
in.
done that.
Like, put it on now.
we've
Man.
done
Good
that.
air circulation is a
Yeah.
big
Like-
thing to have an arcade. Like we have giant fans that are constantly
Yeah.
Done
blowing
all
air.
that.
She's not kidding.
I even walked down with Armani spraying it one day.
Yeah, like Febreze and just like.
No,
everybody steams.
So you've got the pinball community, which is great, but your business isn't gonna survive just on the pinball community. You need to bring new people in, right?
Right.
And that is where we run into these challenges.
you'd be surprised what a fan can do for that, though. I mean, you'd think you're just spreading the smell, but it does dissipate it. And air
yeah.
purifiers, like she said.
Okay, no golden nuggets of help then.
Well, yeah, the Airway, the Coaway Air Mega is what we used during COVID to knock down the risk level, and we have we still have 5 of them in the museum. It's shocking how much dust those things pull up. And I have a feeling if you deploy a bunch of those. You can even fit like them under pinball machines. I don't know. I think that probably would knock that down.
Yeah,
So.
okay.
Good luck, Neil.
Try
Good
it.
luck.
Thank you.
All right, we got one more question.
Thank you guys so much for being here. My name is also Phil. What's up, Phil?
Hey, Phil.
You talked about how pinball with you grew organically. I love that.
Yeah.
Lynn's Arcade, I heard it as Nin's, but now I understand it's Lynn's Arcade. $10 an hour, $20 a day, $100 a month. How many $20 a day guys do you have on average, you think?
The weekends, we'll get, 30, 40 people that'll like show up, and then like our monthly memberships, we're up to about 30 people are at monthly memberships, and we're trying to grow that.
Awesome.
And then the hourly is what really kind of took off. So like the $10 for an hour is what's really like got people to come in, and then they're starting to come back and do the $20 to stay all day.
Cool.
Yeah.
And building your community will, if you wanted to do that kind of model, will get you more of the monthly subscribers. When they feel like I've got a buddy who runs an arcade like that, and he calls them, members when you buy that monthly membership, and he's got a fridge that's for members only where they can, come and bring their beers and throw them in. Now, different locations, different regulations on that, but you really make your members feel special. Give them something like say the members only fridge. It's something really simple, but it makes them feel special, like they're part of your location when they give you that $100 a month. My buddy charges $60 a month for his, but
nice.
it just depends where you're at.
Awesome.
Yeah, that $10 mark is a pretty standard from everything that we hear on the hourly stuff.
And you do a $20 a day as well?
The one of the locations that we're at, the Pinky's Revenge one, they do $20 a day. They do 15 on league nights because those people are coming in. They're working on a membership and hourly things as well. The Upstate Pinball and Arcade Museum that they have, theirs is $10 and it works really well for them. So that $10 mark is what I hear in the industry a good bit.
Okay. And the Roanoke Museum,
Well,
volunteers, are you able to pay them?
no, but we just, it's members of the community, guys like you. We come in and I treat them to a really, really nice lunch every time they come in. We talk pinball and all that kind of stuff. On the prices, though, real quick, I wanted to mention, I know we're out of time. We're $15 for a ticket. We're also $15 a month.
Wow.
And everybody's like, what are you doing? I'll tell you what we're doing. We're turning into a gym membership. We have a $20,000 a year income from our memberships, and only about 10-15% of people use it regularly. Because it's so cheap, they're like, I can come in there anytime I want. They don't, but they keep it anyway because it supports us. So you actually, I think you're going to make more money if you don't try to squeeze every single, your league players, your professional players will do it. That also encourages league players to have a membership, and in lieu of coin drop, you can do that as well. But we're low. We're like 15 a month, and it's been very successful, and people are not abusing it at all. So
Awesome.
kind of the other direction.
Last question, how many games can you plug into a 20 amp circuit?
5.
Depends on the era of the game.
Era of the game.
Modern Sterns, I don't know. I'm not saying that this
Yeah.
is the safest thing, but we can get 6 into an outlet, no problem on a Modern Stern. But if you've got a Pinball 2000 with that CRT TV or an arcade that's got more than pinball, then you really need to look at the back. Every game on the back talks about its amperage rating.
Okay.
So honestly, a 20 amp or let's say a 15 amp circuit, that's the max you can have, and your games aren't all going to draw. If a game says 5 amp on the back, well, you don't have to worry that game is going to be drawing that 5 amps the whole time. That's a guideline, and as long as you've got good electrical, if you did go over it, your breakers would pop. But I found personally, you can get on the ratings in the games about 25 amps added up on a 15 amp circuit, because again, they don't draw that all the time. When you're just normally playing. Now, if you've got all your games and all of a sudden everybody decides to hit multi-ball and hitting all their coils all at the same time, maybe something might happen. But I also recommend not relying just on a surge protector, on your breaker, but a surge protector, not a power strip that's $5 from Walmart. A surge protector with real surge protection with an actual circuit breaker on that surge protector. Do not go cheap on your power strips.
Yeah, good tip. Yeah, that was a great question, too. Thank you all so much for joining us. We got another seminar. The Spooky Gang is over there hanging out, ready to come on the stage. And for any of y'all that are location owners or commercial operators or restorers or technicians, I just wanted to let y'all know that we do have commercial discounts at Marco's website. So please come talk to me or talk to Kim, our sales manager, and we can onboard you guys onto there. It's completely free service that just helps keep pinball out to the masses. And then if you're a technician and you're looking to do more house calls or meet people that are trying to open their locations, then jump on our PinTech database that Brian was telling you about. You can also reach out to us on that. Or you can go to our website, marcopinball.com, and see at the top right where it says Find a Tech, and then you'll be able to also submit an application for that.